You surface from the underground at Piccadilly Circus.
Mind the gap.
Making your way through the glittering lights of London's West End, you take a turn down a quaint-looking street into the notorious neighborhood of Soho. The lights are dimming, the crowd is buzzing, and you've just tuned in to the best seat in the house. Welcome to The Big Smoke, a variety show podcast. I'm Kevin Bennett, and I'll be your guide through this experience of comedy, conversation, and community. Welcome to Variety Week, the moment in our schedule where we throw open the doors to the wonderfully eclectic, bringing you our curious mix of comedy, characters, hidden histories, and the unexpected stories that make The Big Smoke extra smoky. Today, our stories journey from scandalous secrets hiding behind London's blue plaques to an ancient tale of love, loss, and devotion from the forests of India. First up, comedian and blue plaque tour guide Kate Sharp returns with another stop on her delightfully unhinged walking tour of London. This time, we're uncovering the story of Tommy Flowers, the unsung inventor behind Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer, with a few theatrical detours along the way. Then, it's Stories You Haven't Heard with actor, writer, and storyteller Scott Brooksbank, who transports us to ancient India for the tale of Savitri and Satyavan, a remarkable story from the Mahabharata about fate, love, and a woman determined to outwit death itself. We're also trying something new, bringing you episodes every single week. So stay tuned next Thursday for more adventurous audio from across the Big Smoke. But for now, let's tune in. Oh, will you look at that? Just up ahead, it looks like it's a comedian Kate Sharp leading one of her blue plaque walking tours. Hey, let's sneak into the group and see which plaque she is talking about right now.
Oh, fuck! Sorry, I actually have a deep fear of birds, and the pigeons here are fucking crazy. In my past life, I actually was a bird. So just keep an eye out. There's a lot of shit that will come on you. Yes, this is where Charles Dickens actually got the idea for Great Expectations. You wouldn't think he was into men. Turns out he was a big old bisexual, you know. Slay queen, boots down the house, Mama Charles. We were diversity on the Blue Plaque tour. We're allies to you, Charles. So now we have some... Oh, God! I didn't see you there. We have some new people who just joined us. Hello. Just showing my accent work off there. Welcome to the best walking tour of London, as quoted by my mum. This is the Blue Plaque tour, where we will spill top secret English tea on some of our well-known UK celebrities. If you thought the royal family was naughty, wait till you see what some of these blue plaque holders have done. Absolutely naughty. Sorry. Yes. Ugh. No one I'm about to show you was on Epstein's Island. Oh, no, don't worry. Don't worry. No, I agree. The Queen would be very disappointed about Andrew. Oh, God, R.I.P. her. So I'm gonna be your guide today. My name is Kate Sharp. I'm an actor, singer, voiceover artist, life art model. I dance, I do comedy, I occasionally do hair, and I have done a 10-week course on ceramics recently, making me qualified. Remember, if you can all stick together as a group, yeah, I cannot lose another elderly man again. I am on my second warning. Oh, look, we've already arrived at our next blue plaque. So this plaque was actually erected in 2023 by either English Heritage at the former post office research station in Dollis Hill, which I didn't actually know where Dollis Hill was until I got to this place. Can anyone guess who it is? I'm going to give you some clues. Without him, we might all be speaking German right about now. Guten Tag, das ist my Hamburger. Anyone? Does anyone know? No, we're not about to see Brad Pitt. No, although I agree, he was very good in Inglourious Bastards. No, again, just to remind everyone in the group, all the men we're seeing today were born before television. No, we're seeing, drum roll please, it's Tommy Flowers. So during World War II, one of my favourite wars, he designed and built Colossus, the world's first programmable electric computer to help decipher and encrypt German messages. I'm sure you all remember Alan Turing, who actually also has a blue plaque, another man with one, and had a film made about him. And as Benedict Cumberbatch was in it, and Keira Knightley. Well, Tommy Flowers, sadly not like Alan Turing, never got any credit because his achievement stayed top secret over many years, only coming to light in the 1970s. So when he first started working on Colossus, the British government was very skeptical of his designs, so he spent his own money, around £1,000, to build his own version. You know, I guess I really understand what this is like. People being skeptical of you when you're, the star, when you're the person that deserves it all. I am taking a show up to Edinburgh Fringe, which you might have heard about or seen. It's called Witches and Cocks, about the Salem witch trials. I'm actually doing a work in progress tonight, which I can actually get tickets for everyone, if you want. I have a new song I'm trying out, which I've had people wonder, hey, should this be performed? Just like Tommy's computer, the government's tried to stop me and I've gone, hey, Kia, concentrate on the war. It's called Burn Me, Bitches. It's actually about the witches who were burned and their anger towards the men. Okay. You got a little cock, you want me on the dock. You find me guilty of what? Burn me, you little bitches. You are a tiny little bitch. I think when it comes down to it, it's very important to support women in the arts. If you can all pledge to tip me £5,000 each after this, you will comfortably leave this tour knowing you've helped a woman. I've been told I'm someone who's going places. That is a direct quote from my father before he died. So, Tommy, I see you. We're all proud of you. Another fun fact, actually, his machine, the Colossus machine, was built and designed in about 11 months, which is pretty impressive for such a complex machine in the 1940s. He built the machine at Bletchley Park. Do we all know what that is? So during World War II, Bletchley Park was the headquarters for British codebreakers, working to decrypt enemy communications. It had about 10,000 people working there, and this is where his machine was born. Historians actually estimated that the intelligence produced at Bletchley Park shortened the war by 2 years, maybe 4, saving millions of lives. And you know what? I wish dear Tommy Flowers was alive and sitting front row in my show tonight, because I knew he would have loved it. R.I.P. my computer baddie. Do we have any more questions? Any questions from the group? No, we're not near a toilet, babes.
And community. Origin stories fascinate me. Those strange tales we tell to explain the world around us. But there are countless old myths, legends, and forgotten stories that many of us have never heard before. So, sit back, settle in, and let's journey to an ancient forest and uncover one together. This is actor, writer, and storyteller Scott Brooksbank, and Stories You Haven't Heard.
Savitri and Satyavan. This is a story that appears in the Vana Parva, or Book of the Forest, which is the third book out of the 18 that make up the Mahabharata, the famous text from ancient India, traditionally thought to have been written in the 3rd century BCE by the sage Vyasa. Whether he himself wrote the stories or simply put them together, we cannot know. Vyasa in Sanskrit means compiler or arranger. Bring to mind the image of a person you love, someone you are certain that without whom you would struggle to live. Perhaps it's someone you see and spend time with every day. Perhaps it's someone you don't see often. Either way, your life without them would feel bereft. Have you thought of someone? None of us knows the future, however much we think we can predict it or try to control it. But I want you now to imagine that you do know one thing about what's going to happen in your life. You know the exact moment when you will lose this person you love. And not just the week or even the day. You know the precise minute when they will cease to exist. There is no choice in the matter. It will happen in that moment. What would you do? This was the situation faced by a young woman called Savitri. Savitri was the daughter of Ashvapani, king of the Madra kingdom, which on today's maps we would find in Pakistan and some of the Punjab and Jammu regions of India. Ashvapati and his wife Malati had been childless for many years. And so, in his desperation to have a child, Ashvapati spent 18 years in penance, offering 100,000 gifts and sacrifices to appeal to the goddess Savitri. Why Savitri? Because she was the personification of the sacred Gayatri mantra and the solar energy that sustains all life. She represented the creative power of the universe. Now, you might think that Savitri would have been too busy to pay him any attention, but once it became clear that Ashvapati was fully committed to his task and in it for the long haul, she couldn't help but take an interest in him. She began to watch him, tuning in daily to his devotions like you or I might tune in to our favourite soap. She was impressed and pleased, and after 18 years had passed, she appeared to Ashvapati. She asked him to choose a favour for himself. Any blessing. Ashvapati asked that he might have many sons to extend his dynastic line. Men, more men, thought Savitri. Too many men in the world. She decided to bend the rules of giving blessings, just a bit, and told him a little white lie. The deity's current limit for granting boys, she said, had recently been reached, but there were still plenty of spaces available for girls, so she informed him that he would be given a daughter instead. After some time, the king's wife Malati became pregnant and gave birth to a girl, and they called her Savitri, in honour of the goddess. Savitri grew up to become an impressive young woman, brimming with such energy that people often wondered if she might have a little of the goddess in her. Perhaps she was some kind of celestial being, they thought. In fact, she was so respected that no man dared to ask for her hand in marriage. One day, her father, Ashvapati, made a decision. He told her that she should take matters into her own hands. She should, by herself, choose a husband. Accompanied by ministers of court, she embarked on a quest in a golden chariot. This was her first long journey, and she drank in everything she saw. Are you on the move right now as you listen to this? Look around you. No, really, look. How much detail can you see? And if you're looking at something, what do you notice about it that you didn't see at first? Even if you're not moving, take the time to look in detail at your surroundings. Perhaps notice something new about an object or person you look at every day. This was the amount of forensic attention Savitri gave to the world around her throughout her journey. She covered a lot of ground and was enthralled by the areas of the kingdom she had never seen. She was not, however, so enthralled by the men she encountered. As she journeyed, she found herself drawn to the quiet, spiritual atmosphere of the forest hermitages of the sages. It was in one of these, the Shalwa woods, that she met Satyavan, who was living in exile, taking care of his parents. His father was the conquered king Dumatsina, who had ruled over the Salva country, but he had become blind, and when his kingdom was taken forcefully by another king, he had been exiled, now living in poverty with his wife and son, Satyavan. Satyavan was different to any other man Savitri had met so far on her travels. She knew this was far-fetched, but he seemed to her to be a mystic presence, a man who, although living as a simple woodcutter, carried a deep inner knowledge of nature and the divine. Do you ever get the feeling about someone the moment you meet them? a feeling that seems to have nothing to do with your brain but is situated somewhere deep in your body. That's what Savitri felt. There was no need to look any further. On her return to Madra, Savitri found her father seated with the sage Narada, a travelling musician and storyteller. She informed her father that she had chosen an exiled prince named Satyavan as her husband, the son of the blind exiled king Dumatsena. Narada, who knew a lot and was famous for carrying news and is now often referred to as being the first journalist, was not impressed. He said he thought that Savitri had made a bad choice. Although he was intelligent, righteous, generous and handsome, Satyavan was destined to die 1 year from that day. How did he know? Fair question. He just did, okay? Not a satisfactory answer? Well, if you've gained the reputation over the centuries for being the first journalist, then it's probably fair to say that your sources are impeccable. Destined to die 1 year from that day. What would you have done in her position? Savitri took time to think, and having slept on it, she found that her resolve to marry Satyavan had only strengthened. Despite her father's pleas to choose a different husband, Savitri insisted that she had made up her mind. "Whether he is to have a long life or a short one," she said, "I know that my destiny is only with Satyavan. Our two souls must join, and our love will be as rich however long it lasts. Does not the mayfly fill every moment of its brief sojourn on earth with energy and endeavour? And is its value in the eyes of the universe diminished because it spends 5 hours alive rather than 50 years? Narada, the journalist sage, was impressed. He saw in her an unwavering resolve, virtue and devotion. And while he had initially warned against it, he blessed the marriage, realizing that Satyavan was truly the only worthy husband for Savitri, virtuous, intelligent, patient, and wise. A perfect, though tragic, match. After Narada had expressed his agreement with Savitri's decision, Ashvapati consented to his daughter's choice. Ashvapati and Savitri returned to the forest to see Satyavan and his parents and to propose the marriage, which they joyfully accepted. Savitri and Satyavan were soon married. But contrary to what you might have imagined would happen, Savitri did not bring Satyavan to the court to be part of her life there. Instead, immediately after the wedding, Savitri discarded her jewellery and adopted the bark and red garment attire of a hermit, and went to be with her new husband and parents-in-law in the forest, living the simple life that he had always known. Life was good. But despite her happiness, she couldn't stop dwelling on the words of Narada. Satyavan, destined to die 1 year from that day. The knowledge became a heavier burden with each day that passed, one that she carried alone. She had never revealed the prophecy to Satyavan in order to protect him. Only she knew. And she, like you might be wondering too perhaps, kept on asking herself, could it really be true? Nearly 1 year passed and her anxiety grew. 3 days before the day when Satyavan was destined to die, Savitri decided to act. She was desperate. Take a moment to consider what you might do. To what or to whom do you turn when you're desperate, when life seems out of your control? Her life had been one of devotion, and she turned to it now. Could she prevent his death by observing a vow of fasting and by standing day and night? She tried it. On the day of her husband's predicted demise, Savitri gave offerings to the fire and spent hours bowing to the oldest sacred Hindu texts. She was scared. She didn't want to let Satyavan out of her sight, so she joined him when he went to chop wood. Towards the end of the day, he was exhausted, and he told Savitri that he wanted to have a sleep. She found a soft bank where they both made themselves comfortable, and she placed his head on her lap. Perhaps the prophecy had been wrong, Savitri thought. Maybe in an hour or so Satyavan would wake up, they would walk hand in hand back to their simple house, and their simple life would continue. But no. Satyavan had not long been asleep when Yama, the god of death, arrived. Yama had 4 arms, sharp fangs, and moved with a collection of personal storm clouds. He had an angry expression on his face, and he was surrounded by a garland of flames. He was dressed in his traditional blue, and was holding a noose with which to collect Satyavan's soul. As Yama began to carry her husband's soul away, Savitri followed him in great distress. When Yama tried to convince her to turn back, she didn't address him directly. But she did start talking. First, she discussed the significance of adherence to Dharma, an individual's moral responsibilities and duties. She then spoke with great wisdom about how to be virtuous, the righteousness of compassion, the trustworthiness of the virtuous, and finally, the conduct of virtuous people. Eventually, Yama stopped. Taken with Savitri and her words, he praised both the content and skill of her speaking, and offered to grant her any wish, with this stipulation: she could ask for anything except the life of Satyavan. Savitri went quiet for a while, and then spoke. She first requested the restoration of her blind father-in-law Dyumatsina's sight and strength, which Yama was happy to grant. As they continued, she secured another wish for Dyumatsina to regain his lost kingdom. Pleased by her insight, Yama granted her a third wish, which was to allow her father, Ashvapati, to have 100 sons to continue his lineage. Even after receiving these favours, Savitri refused to turn back and continued to walk alongside Yama, still not talking directly about Satyavan, and instead discussing morality and righteousness. Yama, further impressed, granted her a 4th wish. Savitri stopped and was silent again, looking down at the ground with eyes of fire. When she raised her head, she looked straight at Yama and said, "I ask for 100 sons for myself and Satyavan." Yama agreed and started walking again. He noticed that Savitri hadn't moved. He turned to look at her and saw that she was standing tall and still staring into his eyes, a faint smile playing at the edge of her mouth. She looked as strong as the trees around her, except for the slight quivering in her hand, which she raised in the direction of the sleeping Satyavan. "Of course," she said softly, "the fulfillment of this wish will be meaningless without my husband. Wouldn't you agree?" Yama closed his eyes and raised his head and took a long, deep breath through his nose. When he reopened his eyes, they were burning with admiration and affection. Never before had he encountered such wisdom and devotion. There was only one thing he could do. He lowered his noose from his shoulder and released Satyavan's soul. "I bless both of you with a long life," he said. And then he was gone. Savitri returned to the soft bank and placed Satyavan's head back on her lap. Moments later, he woke up, confused. He looked at her anxiously, about to speak, but she placed her fingers to his lips and smiled. Meanwhile, Dyumatsina, having regained his sight, was searching anxiously for his son. The sages from the hermitage tried to reassure him that all would be well, but he was still unable to stop his heart beating fast. Then, late at night, the couple arrived at the hermitage. All were overjoyed, not least Dyumatsina, who, now that he could see them all, felt like it was not only Satyavan, but he who had been granted a new life. They stayed up all night, eating and listening to Savitri as she told them what had happened. The next morning, messengers arrived to announce Dyumatsina's restoration to the throne, as his usurper had been killed. He returned to his kingdom with his family, and in time, Savitri bore 100 sons, securing their lineage. So, yes, I know, more men after all. But, aside from the gender politics, what do you think? How did Savitri do? And were you expecting that? And that person you brought to mind, the one without whom you'd struggle to survive, think about them again. What would you like to say to them?
Well, that's today's episode. Thanks for joining us on a journey through hidden histories and timeless stories. If you'd like to help The Big Smoke keep the variety flowing, why not share this episode with a friend? And whether it's a forgotten figure from history or a story thousands of years old, remember, there are remarkable tales hiding everywhere if we take the time to listen. And we'll keep uncovering them together, here in The Big Smoke.